Everybody got their beverage?
Yep. It's not very exciting.
There we go. I'm the only one drinking alcohol tonight?
Nope.
Nope. Oh, okay, good. White
Ain't
Claw.
no laws.
All right. And with that, why did my speaker stop? There we go.
Jeff has
There we go.
wire.
Check it off your
Well,
bingo card.
no, don't. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low dollar racing and dead battery speakers. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCC or NASA, we won't discriminate as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. We'll do it without the music. We don't care. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCC or NASA. We won't discriminate as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm not mental.
And thank you for coming back. We're Everyone Racers. Thanks you for coming back and listening to a 2.3-16 episode of our podcast. It's a 190 Mercedes first compact class automobile known as by the chassis code W201. Wow, can I read? 201. Inspired by a song and a band name of the same name. If you want to be a man with master plan, if you're not driving your 190 support sedan, grab your E1R bingo card.
The mighty 190. The mighty.
Thank you.
I'm the only one who knows it. Okay.
No, we know it, but we're just gonna let you sing the song.
Never heard it.
You don't live on YouTube.
Right. Okay, let's go on to what you're working on. Jeff, what you working on?
All right. No car work and no house repair. I have been bachelor dad for over a week now. So it has been very busy. Pickups, drop-offs, Uber drivers for the 12-year-old, laundry, school duty, and effing algebra. I hate algebra. F you, Abu Jafar Muhammad Ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi.
Is that real?
That is real. And that is
Okay.
a joke only Donnie will get. That is the father of algebra. That is the man who invented algebra. So F that dude. I hate algebra. My son is with my grandparents, with my father who taught algebra, and he comes home and he still got algebra to do it. I'm like, why didn't you do it with Pop-Pop? Oh, he was busy. Well,
I'm sure
I can't do it.
He was busy, I'm sure.
Today and yesterday at work was graduation. We are 8 out of 12 ceremonies down, and my feet are on fire. I need
You had to look pretty the whole time, right?
The floor was lava.
No, it's just a lot of standing. So, and thanks to COVID, my suit doesn't really fit anymore. I don't
Which
think I've
way?
really worn. It's a little tight in the waist.
Haven't you been hitting that elliptical?
Yeah.
I have been. It doesn't matter. I don't know what's going on. Because I'm less weight than I used to be, but I really haven't worn the suit like in the last 2-3 years. So I look really fat in the pictures. So that's it.
Okay.
So you have more tomorrow?
Yes, 4 more ceremonies tomorrow. So my
And then you're
legs.
done?
Then we're done. Yep. Thanks, COVID, for making only 100 and 200 people out in the room at the same time. But anyway, Chris, what you been doing?
I've done more stuff on the Mazda. I cut out some unnecessary metal, then realized that car is mostly made out of fairly lightweight metal in the areas that are non-structural. The structural stuff is fairly stout, so that's a shame. But cleaned up the car really well, installed the cool box pump. I made a cool box mount and mounted it to the car. This is for our new cool box strategy. And I also made the first cooler for that. And I have 2 more coming on Saturday. So I think the strategy will work. We can talk about more at another time. Still need to run the lines for it, but that's all right. And make those other coolers. And then eventually I have to make the second cooler mount for the Z, because I know that if I didn't do that, then we wouldn't have one. And, that's how it works.
Well, I only have one of the rubber bungees. So that's not
See,
gonna work.
and I need the other rubber, but I have one of them. I need that one. So I'll have to leave that for
Yeah.
the end, but I can do the other stuff. Anyway, yeah, stuff's going along just fine. Got my second COVID shot yesterday. I felt fine today. No problem.
I'm over a week in. I'm at like 2 weeks.
So you're official?
You're ready.
I could kiss random people. I wouldn't. I'm just telling you I could.
Give me a
Great.
big hug and a kiss, Jeff.
Yep. Chrissy, do you want to say what you're working on and then turn it over to our...
Sure. Yeah. So I was doing some yard work, planted some veggie plants. Hopefully we'll have lots of veggies in our veggie garden. I hosted a wonderful Nueve de Mayo Mother's Day celebration on, we had tacos instead of, it was a Mexican celebration
Okay, got it.
on the 9th, on Sunday. I got shot yesterday and then I died. No, I didn't die. I was just,
You were pretty dead.
I was really hurt today. Really, really. I'm barely just a person now. So, yep. So I rested all day.
Did you wake up in a bowl of soup? That is how a friend of mine described his side effects from the shot.
What?
She didn't wake up. That was the problem.
I didn't know. I woke up. I woke up to get a shower, and then I went back to bed, and then I slept, and then I moved to the couch, and then I said, "Okay, Chris, I'll make you lunch," and then I didn't. And then he said, "Do you want me to make you lunch?" And I said, "Okay." And then I went back to sleep for another 4 hours, and then by 5 o'clock, I was like kind of a human, and even now, I'm still dragging. So,
Wow.
Yes.
Which one did you two get?
Moderna.
Yeah, I got
Oh,
Pfizer.
you were lucky.
All I got is a hurt arm. I felt fine.
Yeah,
I have that too.
I had Pfizer, and my symptoms were close to yours. I was just tired, a little feverish at night, but just tired and sleepy all day the next day.
All day. I was like, oh, I have a day off. I'll go work out and clean the house. And then I was like, sleep forever.
Yep, that's pretty much what happened. Well, you've heard him talk a few times now, and you've heard him before. He is the one, the only Uncle Dave Carpenter. We're thrilled to have him here because Mental just couldn't make it this time, but that's fine because that means this show is not going to go on for 2.5 hours, and it's going to be full of useful, intelligent information. So, Dave, great to have you here. What you working on?
Thanks for having me. This week is unfortunately not working on any car stuff, as I have a lot actually still to do to prepare for New Jersey. Been dealing with some family stuff this week and house cleaning and cleaning out basements, dirty work, inhaling a lot of dust, and it's just not been a pleasant week in that aspect. But I do want to talk to you later on about cool boxes because I'm basically going to be doing the same thing and modeling after yours, and already picked up a cooler, and still have a lot of that process yet to do. But
all right, now are you going to wait until we test our design and then, or are you just going to plunge right into it?
no, I'm going to plunge into it because of a faulty cooler box last year, if you remember. We lost our shot at a win.
It might have cost you just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So not messing around with it.
Yeah. Okay. I have a quiz for the podcast. What was the show number that Uncle Dave was on the first time when he talked about RC cars? I'll give you a hint. We are in show 190 now.
72.
I think I know, but
try.
Are we supposed to guess?
Yes.
Yes.
110.
Oh.
What do you think, Dave?
I think it was like 80.
Ooh, 83 is the answer.
Yep. I know it was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Price is Right rules. Okay, good.
News and notes time. Hey, y'all. Do you remember when we ranked the best and worst bathrooms in the amateur racing circuit? Yeah, I know you do.
That's quality consumer advice there. That's important.
Because if we talk about toilets, never mind. We're not the only ones. The famous Indianapolis trough urinals have been forever immortalized on a new shirt. Yes, Lewin Day at the Drive expels the virtues of the underground famous relieving places with an assessment, quote, they are allowing men to stand shoulder to shoulder in stand shoulder to sweaty shoulder while relieving themselves at the track. Sounds fantastic. They are also featured at Wrigley Field, but these have been committed to clothing, and the link, if you want one, is in the show notes. So I didn't know the Drive did t-shirts, but it looks like the Drive is now doing t-shirts. Cool.
Slow
So-
news day.
Slow news day.
Talking about the trough.
It only
Yep.
gets better. All right. So we've had some hard fought battles in our time at the track. In any race with over 80 cars, 500 miles, third place is respectable. We can't see that, Jeff.
Jeff is showing a picture of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway trough on his shirt.
Ah,
Yep.
seen
Yeah.
that
But-
at a few racetracks.
Okay, but NASCAR thought tweeting negatively about Kyle Busch's finish was a good idea. The official account of the series featured a photo of Kyle walking away from his M&M liveried car with the words, "The beginning was better. The beginning was better than the end." His comment back was a little on the childish side. He says, "You," with letter, guys are so stupid. W. Your wannabe taglines. Every week you praise the winner and shame those that follow. Not sure NASCAR heard the response, but if they did, it will change their ways. It probably will.
No, it's probably not.
Wah.
Yeah.
Right? Wah, lots of wang. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So much wang.
Miami races.
Okay. Champ Car is headed to Hallett in Oklahoma this weekend. There are 34 cars, 4 BMWs,
Boring.
Boring.
8 Miatas, no Hondas, 1 Porsche, and the former guest Eric Peterson and his Dead Pedal team will be there with their Maserati. They clearly make bad decisions and are allowing Mental to drive.
Wow,
That's
that's a bad
that's
decision.
terrible.
That's
Yeah, it
terrible
is.
decision.
Yeah.
I'm just jealous.
It's
Yeah.
it's Champ though.
Well, there's only
So-
35 cars. He's not going to hit anything. And it's Oklahoma. There's nothing to hit.
It's nothing to hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty flat.
All right.
We're on
Oh,
to
that's cool.
racing!
He loves Hallett, so he's a big Hallett fan. I hear wonderful things about the people who run Hallett. I know nothing about the track itself.
Let's assume
Sorry.
it's flat.
Yeah.
Recent results.
So we totally missed AER at Watkins Glen. It was 69 cars,
Nice.
35 BMWs, which is
Oh,
so
It's
boring.
a lot of boring.
Boring.
Oh, it's like that's more than half the field. Get a life, people. Be more interesting. 2 Miatas, 1 Honda, 12 Porsches, and here's the interesting person. They had a neon. Good for you. Saturday was close racing with Team Salem, 55 seconds over Random Vandals. Z34 Banger 3 laps back. Sunday was less close. Salem was 2 laps over Random Vandals. Third was RF Motorsports 4 laps back.
And Team
Boring.
Salen's there is running the Caymans, right?
Yeah.
The retired
I mean, they're-
IMSA
believe so.
Caymans.
Yeah, they're pro.
Yeah.
Nice
You know
people
what?
here.
Random Vandals. Good job for you in a Z34 banger.
No, that's
Thing up.
that's a different team. That's a
Oh.
third separate team, and their team name is Z34 Banger,
Oh,
even though
okay.
it no longer is. So,
Oh.
but hey, good for
alright.
Random Vandals for getting that close to a professional racing. team.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So
We also missed WRL at Road America. Who knew? We're terrible at this. We need to get this better. Saturday, they had 76 cars start. Stratus Racing edged out Tons of Gas Motorsports by 38 seconds, and Automatic Racing was a lap back. Just in case you don't know, Road America is in what state?
Wisconsin.
Yes.
They actually have gas in Wisconsin. So Tons of
They
Gas
do.
Motorsports. Good job.
A lot of the gas comes from eating brats and cheese.
True.
There's a lot of brats.
And cows.
Sunday had 63 cars started. Automatic was able to hold off Tons of Gas by 46 seconds. And Hammer Motorsports rounded out the podium 1 lap back.
Lemons was back at Sebring on Mother's Day. Overall winner was Team Race Jeep in their 350Z.
$500 car my ass.
Oh my gosh. It looked good.
Mhm.
It was high up. It was pretty awesome. Class B was projectile dysfunction in their Mazda MX-3, and God's chosen class was GRITS. Garbage raced in the South with their 82 Nissan 200SX. Dr. Florida Man, Pantless Matt, and Mental fought the HHR all Friday and Friday night, took the green, and then were out running in the top half as high as 20th with one gear and a bad clutch. What gear was it? Do we know?
Third.
I guess it was high enough.
Fortunately, it was the best gear they could
It
be
wasn't in first. So
Third.
was
Yeah.
it? Third?
No, I think it was third, really.
Okay. Well,
Which
third
is
or fourth,
good.
you probably can get away with.
That's the best one to go. Yep.
Yeah. Sunday, their luck ran out. Mental broke the car with an hour to go. Wah, wah.
And then did he fly away, go to another race? That's
No.
target.
No.
That would have been on character. Oh well. Yep.
Wah, wah. So IGS, what's IGS?
I got screwed.
I got screwed with Star Racing shenanigans in their E36. The story is way too long for here. It is an epic tale worthy of its own Lemon's World episode. It involves COVID, dead tow rigs, wheels falling off, cars falling from tow trucks, and a
Oh.
world of misery that you should all look forward to watching on the wrap-up video. I got a snippet of the saga Saturday night. He used the phrase, quote, "A runaway speeding semi-truck smoking like the cover of an 80s metal album is barreling right at us."
Nice.
Wow. And that I there is Mental, we should mention. Not Dave.
Yes.
Dave actually
Sorry,
wasn't.
not me.
Yeah. You're
The
feeling
other
it
mental.
nicely, though. Except we can actually get a word in edgewise. And your mustache is less creepy. Yeah. The opposite, Heroic Fix, involved Raging Cajuns and Paul. That's a great team name. The Raging
a good team.
Cajuns and Paul. Poor Paul, he's not raging. The mildly annoyed Cajuns.
maybe
these guys-
maybe he's not from Louisiana.
That's true. These guys failed tech at MSR in 19, so they got a new car, read the book, and flew through tech. Well, that's great. Zach came all the way from Cali to race with his father, and then father-in-law in a new built E30, blew their engine 15 laps and turned to 15 turns into lap one on Saturday. Spent all day wrenching until 10 p.m. while a teammate made a 5-hour round trip for the spare motor. They fixed the car, made it back out, and the wheel fell off in the final 20 minutes of the race. That's always fun when that happens. The Raceful Dead took the Yokohama Cup in their Road Mangler equipped probe.
Oh,
First time that
probed
award has been
the
given out. That's
Wrangler.
great.
Mhm.
Judge's Choice was a really impressive Thunderbird retro model from Bad Penny Racing. According to Mental, it was hella sweet. Org Choice was the gorgeous 1962 Valiant from Off Kilter Racing. They also showed up with an even prettier street-driven Valiant, because the best way to make sure your Lemon's car works, bring a road car as a spare.
Especially the one that you have to use to get home.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, but the other one, both of them were hell sweet, but one of them that was actually like beautiful, obviously restored and looked very nice. Oh, there's a cat. Thank you for coming, cat.
Which
She's
cat is
announcing her
that?
presence.
We have multiple
ours.
people with cats today.
That's ours.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
locked mine out.
It's ours. IOE was NSF, who brought one of the two Sebrings, got rear-ended but made it back out. Dr. Mary was also iron-butted that sucker for two separate 90-minute stints. Her best time was a 3:01, was faster than one of the C4 Corvettes.
It was also
Corvette
faster than the HHR by like a lot. I think the HHR only had 2 cars with slower fast laps than the
I saw
HHR.
that.
Ah.
I couldn't believe how slow the lap times were on that.
Yeah.
That is not a
And they were
garden.
20th.
Yeah, that is not a garden variety HHR. Doesn't it have like a
No.
Cobalt supercharged or turbocharged motor in it?
Yeah, and like C6 brakes because Corvette.
Well, you can
And-
only go so fast if you only have one gear.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
apparently it was running quite poorly. It wasn't just it has one gear.
Yes.
Like
There was
I
ignition
heard-
problems.
yeah, I've heard bits of the story. They can tell it themselves because they were the ones who had to suffer it. Mental will tell us someday.
Yeah, that'll be a 2-hour show.
Oh, listener feedback. On the gram, Mental showcased a few highlights of the Sebring trip, and it was exciting from across the South. And of course, you guys all jumped right in because nothing will get more comments like crazy things from the South.
There
The
you go.
HHR. Oh, sorry, go on, Chrissy. That's yours.
Oh, either way, I was just breaking it up. Top of the HHR, where that was still piled high with parts, paint, and not looking quite ready to go. A few people had a comment if it runs. Mental said ish, and there was lots of encouragement.
The real fun was when he posted a picture of his jeans cut off because Florida, and the awkward corner and KOH
With a whole bunch of numbers. There were
bunch of-
the people that were
Yeah.
commenting.
They said they were too long. His shorts were too long. Too much metal said no self-respecting member of the Duke family would wear cutoffs that long. I missed this picture. It must have been crazy. Bill asked if Donnie was going to a wedding. I have no idea why. Fat Crack Racing said the pockets need to be hanging out and go shorter. So I'm getting a picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were not long enough.
Lastly, there's yet another picture of Mental getting pulled over, this time with the caption, "I see you have out-of-state plates. Welcome to Florida. Please pay your border tax in 30 days. So DMB Stardust suggested maybe they deserve to be stopped. And I'm sure most were people thinking that, really, again, because it's Mental and Donnie in a rental car with Canadian plates in Florida. Like, the cops can smell the no goodness from days away.
And then when they pull them over and look inside, I think they're going to agree.
This is when you
Yeah.
get pulled over and they're like, "Do you have meth?" And you're like, "No, sir." Well, clearly you don't because you're not from Florida, and that's a problem.
I'm sure Mental even used his military ID when he was pulled over, and that didn't work because he's always like slips that behind the license as he hands it to them.
Mhm.
Oh well, didn't work this time. All right.
All
Racing
right.
report.
I suck at racing. I can't tell you exactly what happened in the entire first half of it because I only made the second half. So
More than we did, so that's
yes, there was a no pedal, no wheel. I believe was at the Phoenix Road Course. No clue what happened. They did rally with dirt street stocks. Again, no idea what happened. Then they did what do they call it? Totally Rad. They did the Radicals and the Spec Racer Fords at Thompson. That was a
Mm.
blast. I actually have raced a lot at Thompson in other cars, so I took to that track like a fish to water and did very well until I didn't.
And this is the Thompson Oval, not
the Thompson Oval, correct?
Yeah, it's not the road.
'cause
They don't have the road course.
No, because it
program.
was scanned before the road course was built. A new guy, I can't remember his name, actually won that. He did really well, but I think he's a iRacing regular. Then we did the iRacing Super Speedway with MX5s. That
Oh.
was intense.
Wow.
Well, that was all just
Nothing.
drafting. Like
It
nothing.
was totally all drafting, 5, 6 wide at times. There was quite a few, the big ones, and again, couldn't tell you who won, no idea. but it was an
Winning's not
absolute
important.
blast.
It doesn't
it's
matter.
not. It was not.
Did you have a good time?
Oh, absolutely.
Did people
absolutely.
laugh?
Of course.
How was
Absolutely.
the commentary?
I don't even
I
know.
think
didn't watch the
Hamza joined
broadcast.
them.
Oh yes, I
Good,
did
good,
see
good.
part of it. Hamza was in there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yes.
Good.
And we didn't need to
without
be
you
there anyway.
guys, Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little quiet.
I was too busy being dad, mom, algebra
And-
teacher, so I didn't make it.
hmm
Yeah.
But
it was
yeah,
Mother's
that was
Day.
it.
Thanks for the recap.
And then we did an E1R race, and I still wasn't there because I was being
Yeah.
dad.
We did, and we raced at Coda for the first time because that's where
Ooh.
Lemons is going on Sunday. First in the normal Lemons cars to practice for Sunday's Enduro. Chrissy, you were out there. How was that?
It's very technical. It is. I keep like, oh, I'm in an F1 car and I should be able to go do this faster. And I was in a Miata. I was pretty much DFL. So I have no idea who won. It might have been Spencer, but I have no idea. It was difficult and I was frustrated when I got out and I was basically ready to throw my stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
the
that's. Go ahead.
second one was some faster stuff. We had F3 and radicals and So and some of the GT4 cars. I thought it was pretty. I went into that one. I thought it was an interesting track. It took me a while to get the hang of it. Much better than I thought. But it's obviously a modern F1 track, and long straight, tight hairpin, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle bit, tight hairpin, long straight, tight hairpin. You can.
And the hairpins were like they're actually hairpins. You just turn around to go the other way. I was having a hard time with my actually getting around the corner. Like I was always too far out. I was off track limits like every time I went around the corner.
Yeah.
Track limits don't matter. You're a champion, Chrissy.
Yes, yes. I agree. It was the first time I ever ran it. I had to buy it that night, and it's a lot more technical than I thought it would be. But like you said, the hairpins I don't use VR. So it's like I go through the hairpins with a triple monitor even. It's like I can't look through to the next corner. It's like almost like having a blind corner.
I was definitely turning all the way to the side as I was doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a definite advantage I could see with VR on a track like that for sure. And it took a while to get the hang of it. And I ran the Porsche Cayman in both races, even though it was faster cars, because I just wanted to get used to it with that car.
That's why I left those in there. I figured that some people would want to do that. So. Great.
Well, that's fabulous. I'm glad I wasn't there with my single television, because I would not have seen.
No, then you could have hung out with me and Lady A. That's what basically we just hung out at the back.
I think Aaron won the second one. Turnout was a little lighter this week. I mean, I figured that's normal sometimes. But it was a hard new track. Good times.
We should remind everyone, if you iRace, you can join us on Monday nights, 9:00 Eastern, whatever we are, Eastern Standard, Eastern Daylight Savings. I don't know, whatever the hell time it is in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, 9:00 Mondays, and then 10:00 Mondays. If you want, there is a password. It's password protected. It is a hosted race. But if you want the password, just hit us up on any of our social media or just type in ST43.
And we use Discord too. If you want all that information, just email us.
Yeah. The email us, because you definitely want to be on the Discord.
Yeah, that's where half the fun is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or all the fun. There's some people that show up just in the Discord just to talk.
And just so you know, it is Eastern Daylight Time right now.
There we go. Thank you.
Yes, this is daylight time.
Whatever.
Well, you got to know this stuff sometimes. And you know who always knows what time it is? It's Chrissy's mom.
Does anyone really know what time it is? Does anybody really care?
No.
Howdy doody time.
Main topic time. Eastern Daylight main topic time. This is part 2 of the 3 p.m. recipe for success. What does that mean? You can go back to hear episode 185 to hear part 1 of what is the recipe for success. But really what this is, and I'll boil it down to a sentence or two, and everyone can jump in and correct me. We've built a lot of race cars at this point, for Lemons, for endurance racing, and we have built a large variety of weird cars that might not be the normal kind of thing, and there might not be a normal recipe, but we have kind of a recipe to get to the first race, and that's to make it good, not great, but last all day long and be a decent race car. So that's what we're talking about. That is the 3 p.m. recipe for success. It will not only get you to the green flag, but it'll hopefully get you to the checker flag on that first time out. How did that do in the Z? No. That is not when you're doing a radical
Mazda,
engine swap.
Right?
Yep.
Right. Well, that's why I go back to our other episodes of engine swaps are terrible. Don't do them. And the Mazda is basically stock and works great. Dave's Cressida. Dave definitely has this down. So when we were doing this episode, Mental wasn't here. We said, Dave knows this topic. We got to get Dave on. So here we are. So let's pick it up.
Okay, let's talk about making it lighter. So I think we did some of these things are really actually great examples. My pride and joy examples of things that we did in the Z, and the Z didn't work, but we actually did a bunch of these things on that car before it made to track. So headlights, covers, let's talk headlights and covers. So you want to make it
making it lighter. That's the topic.
Right. So Z had the heaviest headlights ever. They were like 20-pound glass blocks. So taking them out is going to save you a whole lot of weight, and making covers for them makes you aerodynamic. So that's a great idea. So that's an easy place to look. Take them out, get some sheet metal, stick something on top of it. You have now made them lighter. Yeah.
You're muted, Dave.
You're on mute.
How about now?
There we go.
Okay, so the Cressida, I was in the same boat when I got the car. It was already built, but it still had headlights in it that they just taped off. Took them out, same thing. They were a lot of weight. I used plastic signboard material to make,
Chloroplast.
yes, whatever you call it,
Yeah.
to make semi-aerodynamic light covers, and they're very durable, and stuff just like bounces right off of them.
It's awesome, and it's cheap.
I was gonna say your
cheap.
original Cressida headlights are like straight up and down, right?
Yes.
And then you kind of like made like an angle from the bumper up.
Right.
So aero and lightness at the
Aero.
same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Exactly.
fantastic.
And it's great to we kept the wiring in for, and when you're taking the lights out, if the wiring is still good, you can keep them in and just cover it up with whatever you would like to. But then you can keep them in case you decide to run a night race and still need headlights for to replug them in. Sound deadening. So hopefully when you get a race car, you've taken out sound deadening. We did a great job of taking it out of the Mazda, but at some point you figure out where the line is that you want to pursue trying to get it out. I think we did not get it all out of the Z, but usually
Got a good bit out.
Right. So get as much as out you can with, we used, what do you call that stuff? Dry ice. And then, but you can also chip away if you so feel like it, but that is an easy way to get rid of and make it lighter and get some stuff out of your way. And then especially, it's also a safety issue.
Yeah, I was going to add what you just did of that. It's something that's going to burn if you catch fire. So get those burny things out. It's double win. Less to burn, less weight.
Yep. Especially the stuff that has the rug stuff on the back. There's some kinds of like plastic and rug. Yeah, that's going to be really gross when it burns. So let's not do that. Brackets. What kind of brackets are we talking about here?
There's all kinds of brackets in a car, like the hold, like the ABS or the airbag module, or the handles above the doors, the crap handles. Like there's all kinds of brackets. You don't need those for most of them. Take most of them out unless they're going to attach something else to them.
Yeah,
Jeff?
we really didn't mention taking out the airbags, but obviously that is a must remove for safety items. I bought the Star Bit set on Amazon because all of the airbag harnesses and wiring and sensors or things are in with like these safety Star Bits. It was the best $15 I ever spent on Amazon. I only needed one bit of the 6 that were there, but it actually made taking a lot of that crap out a lot easier.
I think we tried to take a lot of that stuff out without the Star Bits, and that's what caused a lot of heartache to start with.
Yeah.
If I'm
and I
remembering
definitely
correctly.
have drilled the end of a Torx to make my own safety Torx.
It's just buy it on Amazon. It was really cheap and it was worth it.
Harbor Freight's got a nice set too that's got like 500 bits and includes those too.
It didn't include the one we needed though for the Z. Because it was like a 40 or a 45.
Yeah.
It's really big.
Yeah. Good.
So anyway, yeah, that's all I wanted to say about lightness. Keep going, Chrissy. I know you got more on your list.
Oh, you're on mute.
Cool. Let's come back here. Brackets, all the things that are holding on the panels that you took off. Because I feel like there's some on the trunk, actually, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But there were brackets that are holding on panels, the seats and panels that used to be there and are no longer there now that you took them all out. So let's do that too. Cut off unneeded stuff. Chris loves to walk in and say, okay, a lot of the inside of a car, when you take all the interior out, you end up with this double din type stuff. So you have the one panel, which is the outside, and then you have this additional layer on the inside. So Jeff too, but likes to go around and find where it's double, can I take off the first layer? What I think Chris wants to say is that sometimes it may not be necessary depending on how light the metal is, but depending on your car, sometimes this is probably going to be totally worth your while.
And it depends on how much you really care. Because if you do this in a lot of places, 16 ounces equals a pound. It really it adds up. It becomes really tedious, dirty, crappy work to do too much of. So hit the high value spots. Like I just took the door bars out of the rear doors in the Mazda because that's not doing anything, and some of those are pretty sturdy. So let's get rid of those, for example. But when I gutted the outside of the edge of the Mazda door, it was less than a pound. It was really nothing. That metal was light, so I didn't really bother on the passenger side. It's fine.
Now there's nice jaggedy pieces, so whenever you move around the car, everybody gets stuck on them. And yeah,
I am the jaggedy metal I don't want to say like Nazi, but that's what I was about to say. I am the jagged person. No, don't do that. I am the guy who goes around with the grinder and is like, why is this sharp? Why is this sharp?
Yep.
Why is this sharp?
Or we've put like the edge of hose or like door edge molding. That's actually the easiest stuff. The stuff that you put on the edge of your doors, you buy at Pep Boys so that you don't get the chips on the edge. Put that over the edges there. And if you put it with some silicone it holds on, put some tape over the end, it works great to protect from tearing your expensive race suit.
Yes.
Or just your arm. Well, especially with the flesh, right? With the new build. I know when we were trying to work on getting it out to the track, every time you'd go in, you'd be like, "Ow, what?" And it's because they're big metal jagged
you
thing
need
hanging
to
off the door.
Smooth all that stuff over.
Well, sometimes you don't find it until you've driven.
Yeah,
Right.
when you're bleeding on it, you're like,
Right.
"Oh, come back later and fix that."
Sure, we've got a few of them. Maybe we should do that. Okay. And last I've got with keep it lighter, keep the necessary things. So don't take off your wipers because you think it's going to help you, because when it rains, no matter how much Rain-X you have, it's still, you were going to wish that you have wipers. And so just keep them. HVAC, you can decide you should probably keep it. We've found over the years that we did not keep it and we wish we had. We were like, oh, the little blower that Chris made that made us literally a
bilge pump blower
this big. That's all you
enough.
could see out there. He was like, I could see fine. And I was like, I'm going to die. That actually happened. So so keep it if you can.
So on the HVAC, my car did not have anything in it either. So at first it was just bilge blower, piece of duct head into the windshield. No,
Never
spot over, it was New Hampshire, I'll never forget.
I remember
the spot over on the right side of the windshield is the only place I could see. So after that, I think I got it from Jegs or maybe Summit. They sell a nice little hot rod, like a duct kit for, it's just a couple little plastic diffusers and a little Y pipe. And I took that little blower and put it down by the floor where the exhaust runs underneath, so it gets a little bit of heat from it, and that actually worked pretty good. Had to make a dashboard out of that same plastic sign material, but it's worked out good between that and, of course, Barbasol.
Yeah, Barbasol is key. We should have Dave more often. That's like an actual tip. Like I actually learned something.
Yeah. But in general, just keep your HVAC system. Some engineers worked really hard to do that. You're like, I'm going to save 10 pounds by pulling this out. You know what? We did the same thing. And you know what? We were wrong. Don't do that. Leave it. You need it.
And since you really only need the defroster, if you're careful, you can take some of the stuff apart. You no longer need the vents that go to the back and to the side and to the feet. You just need the one that goes to the windshield. So that's actually what we did with the Z. We left all the motor and the heavy stuff, and the one vent that goes to the windshield we kept, and all the others we took off and we sealed with Illumitape.
And we also gutted the AC evaporator. We just left the outer box that the air flows through from the fan to the heater, but took the evaporator part out. So you can still make it lighter.
You can lighten.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Good. Lighter is better. What's next? We're light.
You know what's better than light? Stiff.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, baby. You want it stiff.
Jeff likes a stiff one.
I do like a stiff one. So floppy is not good. We're still talking about race cars. All right. So you need to see what's going on in your car. If you got a unibody car, if you got a body on frame, all of this is really important, is you got to stiffen things up. Homemade braces. We had, when we were running the Honda, there was basically the rear section constantly moved around every time it got hit. Every time it got hit, the unibody shifted. So one piece of square tubing from one section of the unibody to the other underneath, you could buy a brace for several $100s, or you could just weld one in. Just weld it in. Weld in a brace, people. Weld in strut tower braces. Hello, there's a reason they sell them. Do you need to buy it? No, you have a welder. Just weld it. All right.
I made one for the Mazda the other day I think it took me half an hour, and it was with just some angle iron and square tubing.
Yeah.
And drill a couple holes, measure twice, cut once, or cut a few times because you didn't cut it right. Fortunately, mine worked the first time. And then I welded it. I even painted it because I couldn't help myself.
Why not?
Right. And bolted it right in. It works great.
Stiffer. You got to check all your bushings. Okay. The suspension bushings, anything that's bad, you got to replace it. Lower control arms, tie rod ends, sway bar bushings. You need to just check all this stuff. Okay. You're building a race car. Anything that looks sketchy, you change it.
Stock replacement's totally fine.
Nothing wrong with stock replacement, right? Yeah, we don't need to go to urethane, no solid. I mean, you want to be a masochist, go right ahead, but there's nothing wrong with a good old rubber bushing. All right.
Some things the rubber is way better than something too hard because it needs to flex in more than one plane, and the urethane doesn't let it happen.
Yeah. It squeaks too, and it looks red. And the judge goes, "Why'd you put urethane bushings in this thing? Just put the stock ones in. They work, everybody."
I've actually heard of people that had had urethane, like motor mounts that actually failed on something that whereas a stock one wouldn't have, because and for no other reason than just the aftermarket quality may not have been quite as good as it was advertised.
Who knew?
Yeah, exactly.
This sketchy eBay set of motor mounts are not the best quality.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's be honest here, people. If you have that 1,000,000-mile hoopty, you also got to change those shocks. If you bounce on it and it bounces all over the place, get yourself some new shocks.
It's hilarious.
It's just bonus points for judging.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. But again, you don't need to spend $1 million here. You can get good quality stock valve shocks. Right?
I mean, for used stuff.
And this is really what I was going to say. Used stuff is also available, and this is the same thing with springs. Okay, where do you get springs? Are you going to go out and buy some like major, really expensive stuff? No, you can find. You need to know what's available for your car. Okay, when we're racing an S10, the mini truck scene had a ton of shocks. We got in the bed a whole bunch of springs. What do? We bounced on them until we found the hardest one and we threw it in. Okay. Yep. Same thing with the rear spring. There was some kind of
like bouncing on it.
That's right. Yeah. Especially when it's stiff, baby. We bounced on it to make it stiff. So in the back, we had this like really bizarre monoleaf thing, but then we just went and we got a set of stock ZQ8, which is the sporty spring. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Look, here's the deal. We've done everything from like cheap ass lowering spring stuff that you might find on eBay or, Wish. Order it now. It won't come in for a couple months. To newish stock stuff. We did that for the S10. We got new Bilstein. Were they Bilsteins? I think they were Bilsteins. New Bilsteins all around that were just the stock valving. And then we've also gotten rusty used stuff and good stuff. And it really depends on what's available. If you're buying for a Honda Civic, you probably have a lot of used options in the Facebook marketplace. If you're buying for a Toyota Cressida, Dave, what do you have?
Right now, I'm actually using KYBs that are adjustable, but they're actually reasonably priced, and I've been really happy with them.
They were for a Cressida?
They were actually, no, they were for I'm trying to think. The strut inserts are rear struts from an MR2 with a spacer in them. And the rears are actually stock for a Ford Focus, the only difference was the top bushing, little shaving, and it fit.
But that's the stuff you have to do with that.
That's the stuff,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And
They
here's some
don't.
other
They used to make ones for the Supra, but they're not available anymore.
here's some other tips. The Moog spring catalog is enormous, but it gives you dimensions of height, diameter, and free length of everything. So if you find something, oh well, I'll find something a little shorter but the same diameter, but with a larger metal, the thicker wire.
Yeah.
Great,
Pounds
you
per
just found
inch. They're measured in pounds per inch, right?
Well, they don't even tell you the rate; they just tell you how thick the wire is.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Nice.
So, but if you find one that's similar but with stiffer wire, great, and then you can figure out what that goes to, so you can then find that spring at the junkyard. So you find those, cut a coil or two off, and now boom, instant higher rate springs that you found in a cheap way.
So I once had a conversation with someone who knew more about suspension than I did. And I said, I'm going to cut my springs. And I said, how much should I cut? Chris, do you remember what your answer was?
Half a coil.
Half a coil. Doesn't matter what you're trying to accomplish. Cut half a coil. Because if
Well,
it's
they
not
still-
enough, you can cut more.
Yeah, it's true. Well, especially you were doing your stock ones. I'm like,
That's
just try that. And some coils are wound with a very tight wind, so they're really close together. Other ones have like only 3 or 4 all the way up. So, things like that. Be careful.
Half a coil.
Yep. And how much did you cut?
Half a coil, actually. And
Okay.
I should have done more. But I'm selling that car, so who cares?
Good. All right. Well, Jeff has already started us on the real suspension upgrades. You've got to make your suspension a little bit better than stock for the most part, unless you're driving a Rolls Royce or a Citroen. And this is an easy way to go. And we already started this. Good bushings go a long way to removing slop and just it actually helps your tire wear and makes the car more confidence inspiring to drive because it's not doing weird stuff. It actually lets you get a decent alignment in it. That's great. And an alignment is something that is important. Do a good alignment. If you bring it to a shop, even that's okay. Just call them ahead of time to see if they're willing to deal with a weird car, because some of them they're not. But I've had people come up to me and asking me about handling problems in their car, and I said, "Well, what's your alignment?" They said, "We have no idea." And I said, "Okay, great."
Well, that's
Go check your
that's the
toe.
problem.
Right? They checked your toe, and they've got like an inch of toe in. We're like, well, that might have something to do with it. Isn't that amazing? Right? So it's some of it's the basics. Get everything generally tight and generally working like stock and pointing in the right direction. Not like when I drove Jeff's Miata before he did the suspension upgrades, when it was like a loose consortium of parts that weren't really interested in the same thing, but would kind of generally go in a similar direction. That's what Jeff's Miata was like.
It was $200.
Exactly.
Let's not forget.
No,
And it was
I'm not-
rust holding hands. Let's be honest.
I think
Yeah.
that was Chris's
Yeah.
Yeah.
statement.
But once you tightened it up, Jeff, with the
Fantastic.
new stock control arms,
Yep. Lower
With
control
some-
arms all around.
with new ball joints and the movable parts there, with some decent middle of the road aftermarket shocks,
Yep.
and some just used lowering springs.
Use springs. Absolutely.
That car handled great,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun.
Still handles great. Just doesn't
Yeah,
have the power it used to have.
No, it doesn't. Who knew? It was $200. All right. So once you've got that stuff down, now you think about, how do I make this a little more racy? Like, all right, Dave had a great segue into find shocks that are not necessarily for what you need, but will fit. So look at catalogs, like old school, find the catalogs for the big shock companies. And you don't really care about for what happens necessarily for your car, as long as you know things like, what is the free length, what is the compressed length, and what is
Can
the
you
mounting points.
Say what free length and compressed
Sorry,
length is.
free length is when you have the shock out in open air and it expands itself. That's the free length. How long is it from end to end? Compressed length is we push it all the way in. How long is it there? Because if your free length and compressed length, or sorry, if your free length is off, your suspension is going to bottom before you want it to, and it's going to make it handle strangely. If your compressed length is off, it's just going to your shock is going to bottom out the other way, and then it's just going to be, it'll blow it out, and it's like an infinite rate spring at that point. So you don't want that either. So if you find something that has the right free and compressed length
This is jargon, giraffe.
and mounts the same way. Yep, it is. But it might be that like the front of a Chevy van is the perfect thing you need for your car when it's lowered. But you don't know until you go start looking at a catalog and see what's there and look at those lengths.
Okay,
It's
jargon giraffe wants to know
Yeah.
what is an infinite rate spring?
It's when imagine your springs were just a solid block of metal.
Yep.
The rate of the spring is infinity. There is no rate. It is solid. And
Like when
that doesn't
metal
make it handle
hits
well.
metal, that is an
Yeah.
infinite rate spring.
Yeah. Imagine you took your shocks off and just replaced it with a piece of square tubing. That's not going to work very well. You need some movement in it. What else? Alignment. We got to get your alignment a little bit better. Oh, Dave, you had something to say.
I
Go
was
for
going
it.
to just say back to the shocks. Depending on what car you run, in our case with the Cressida, it shares a lot of parts with a Mark II Supra. So there's a lot of forums out there from back, when forums were the thing, that are still up there, that there's a lot of information on. That's where like I found out about what strut, like an MR2 rear strut cartridge will fit in the front of a Supra or Cressida. And the same thing with the Focus shocks. So there's information, of course, depending on what car. If you're running, I don't know, say
Citroen?
a Citroen, yes, there's going to be just not much. But if there's a car that at some point, like in my case with the drifting world, there's a lot of people that lower them and
Yep,
get
yep.
stance and all that. There's a lot of information actually out there available for it.
The drifting world, and we say in the credits that we like the Drifto
Mhm.
Hella Flush guys. The Drifto world is why we have such a fantastic shock and spring combo on the Z, or the springs, actually, the shocks,
Right.
actually, because someone had a very expensive set of shocks, but they weren't Drifto shocks. So he yanked them right off and they were for sale.
Cheap.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I was before Dave said that, but okay.
Sorry.
No. All right. So now apparently if you've got springs and shocks and bushings, and it's all a little bit better, you've got to align it right. But some cars, you just can't adjust the alignment. So now you got to find ways to adjust it. Like the Mazda, for example, there is no camber adjustment anywhere around the car. The only thing you can adjust is toe. So that's not going to work for us. We did find some adjustable rear upper control arms that let us do that. But if you can't, well, maybe you can cut them a little shorter and weld them back together. I would highly recommend you measure before you do this. Don't just cut and weld and see what happens. Measure it and see how much you need to take out. It's surprisingly little, but that'll work nicely. In the front, I ended up grinding slots in the strut towers to be able to move the spring in as far as I could. And that got us 3 degrees of camber, which actually in that car might be a little too much based on our tire wear. So,
But then you
and
could
when you're
always pull a little out if
Exactly.
it's slotted.
Oh, and the kitty's there. Hello, kitty. Chrissy's got a companion. That's good. So, and that goes for every, no matter what kind of suspension you have, there's a
I like
way
how
to
she
grind it.
points at the camera as if the cat is going to be like, "Oh, I see where you're pointing," and then I will look there.
Cats are notoriously bad at following points.
And Jeff
Yeah.
loves this subject. He thinks
Yes.
it's hilarious.
If I
Yep.
point, my dogs look where I'm pointing. If you point to a cat, it looks at your hand.
Because your hand is what's moving,
So true.
and your hand might have snacks in it.
Anyway, I digress.
Yes.
So,
Fine.
question.
Cut stuff, move it. If you have to weld it back together, do it. Try to measure before. There you go. That's the simple thing.
I can't remember if it was a Nissan Sentra or a Dodge Neon, where the hot setup to get to adjust the suspension in the rear was actually to bend what it was like a swing arm
Nissan.
axon. Yeah, right.
Nissan Sentra's had a solid rear axle, so you would
Uh-huh.
actually just bend
Bend
the
the
solid rear
axle.
axle to get some camber. Yeah, and there's all kinds of weird stuff like BMWs. You swap the left and right strut hats, and that gets you camber.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks. If you find those tricks, great. If not, then you just really start cutting and welding and pushing in the right direction. Oh, even something as simple as loosen all the bolts in the suspension.
Push them.
pry on it to get it as far to
Yep.
the end of the play and everything you have, and tighten it back up. Helps.
Wobble bolts, crash bolts.
Yeah, that's another
Look
good
for
one.
'em.
If you have
Yeah.
struts, that have that 2-bolt attachment point at the knuckle, those are a great option.
Yep.
Okay, great. Now your suspension set. What do we need now?
Now you got to look at wheels and tires. You have to find the right mix of as wide as you can get without being either too expensive or just unobtainium. You also have to make sure that it's going to clear everything.
Mhm.
You have clearance issues. Some cars, if you go too far inboard on this is where your offset comes in. If it goes too far in, it could hit the strut tower, or there's any number of things that you have to be conscious of. There are websites that are out there that I've looked at because I'm looking to upgrade to larger wheels myself. Right now we're running 16 by 8.25 wheels, and I've got a lot of room. I know I can go to 17s, and I think I can go to like 17 by like 9s and still have plenty of clearance.
What's your bolt pattern, Dave?
4 by 114.
4 by 114. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
4
Interesting.
by.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so
All right.
weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a big car for a 4.
Yeah, there are upgrades out there to there's ways of doing it. There's hub swaps with like later model Cressidas that I could do.
Is it 4 by
But-
114 early Mustang?
I'm not sure.
It might
that
be.
I can
I
tell.
think
Yeah.
it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so anyway, there's a few websites that I've found over the years that are like calculators. So like
Mhm.
if you have what you have, you put in what you have versus what you want to go to, and it'll tell you like how much further in that wheel is going to go, or how much circumference you're going to change on the tire itself, or how much outward that you got to worry about your fenders clearing. Are you going to need to roll your fenders? Are you going to need to like put flares on, to be able to be legal and actually cover the wheels?
Yeah, that's great. I have used those websites, and some of them give you nice graphical representation of exactly, this is the old box, this is the new box, it's this much more. So you can say, all right, it's 13 millimeters more. Do I have 13 millimeters? Yes, I do. Fantastic.
Right.
I actually have that as an app, by the way. So look for the app. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You also have to figure in on, especially on the fronts, when you're actually turning the tires, like, are you going to clear in your full, rotation of the steering, both inside and out?
That's actually what I was going to just say.
Tire
And
expert.
also just with travel and suspension, make sure
Yes,
that like
that
it
as well.
everything looks fine until you're actually using it.
Yes.
Right,
You
so
can
you
look
got-
at it when you're
Compress that suspension. Make sure you're measuring
Yes.
at
Yeah.
all locations.
There are a
'Cause-
couple spots in the Honda that had rubbed themselves clear of paint over the years, just lightly.
Yes.
Question for the experts, because I don't actually know this one. What if your car has a staggered setup? Square it, still run staggered. What's your thoughts?
You're asking me?
I'm asking whoever wants to chime in, because
have
I don't know.
no experience with running Stagger, so I can't even really tell you. I can say that in my own thought, from like a budget standpoint, I like having all 4 sizes, all 4 tires the same. I can rotate them, and depending on which tire brand, like the Azena 615s, I can rotate them to any corner. So, depending on the track, well, this track we wear the right front more, or we might, be able to rotate them either which direction. Whereas obviously with staggered wheels and tires, you can't do that. But I think Chris can probably, you had staggered tires on the Honda.
I have yes, I
We
would
had
say
reverse stagger.
we
Right,
did
reverse.
for most rear drive cars that are front engine. I take out the stagger, and I've taken out the stagger on a number of cars. Like my M3, I took the stagger out. My Z4M, I took as much stagger out as I could without buying new wheels. The Mercedes that Mental now has, I bought extra rear wheels to put them on the front to get most of the stagger out of the car, because most of the time the stagger is there partially for looks and partially to keep the uninformed basic driver safe because it'll just understeer.
Ham-fisted mutants.
Yeah,
Right.
it'll understeer, and that's what they want. But stuff we're doing, if you have a car with good weight distribution, make them even. Then you can rotate it. Then you've got even balance. It just works better most of the time. If your weight distribution is way off front to rear, it does make sense to put a wider tire in the side that's doing more work. And great examples are the two Hondas that I have a lot of experience with, the Civic and the NSX. The NSX has 255s in the back and 215s in the front, these little tiny wheels.
Wow, that's a lot of stagger.
Yeah, it doesn't need more than that because it's got the V6 in the back that's doing all the work. The fronts are just kind of pointing it in the right direction while the rear does all the work.
Yeah.
And in the Civic,
And
we
that
ran,
is a traditional stagger when the rear contact patch is wider than the front contact patch.
and for a mid or rear engine car, that makes perfect sense. Like on that or a 911, like you want that to keep it. That's doing all of the work. On the Civic, we did something that was a little unusual at the time we did it, but it happens more and more. If we had a reverse stagger, the fronts were wider than the rears because no matter what, we had more understeer. Well, the front's doing all the work on the Honda, the back's just holding it up. So we had 15x9s with 225s on the front and 15x7 or 8s in the back with 195s, and the car handling was pretty neutral actually. We played with tire compound to get some of the handling out, but eventually the last setup we had, which was the most neutral, I thought, when it wasn't being evil, was all Hancooks all around, but just different size.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've seen that on a bunch of other Civics work too. It's just what end is doing all the work, put the bigger tires there.
But most of the time run square.
Yeah.
For road racing, we're talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Who's
Cool.
next?
Oh, and one last thing, tires.
Yes.
Use tires that are good at endurance racing.
Yeah.
Don't use tires that are specialty autocross tires. They will wear out too fast.
Nope.
Don't use street tires. They will chunk. Even tires that are kind of in the middle, like our street contact sports that we had on the Mazda. 340 tread wear wiped a set off in a day and a half.
I
Completely
don't remember
gone.
what our topic was last week, but I think we said the same exact thing for in a completely different topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Buy
guys were talking about
real race
Mhm.
brakes and real 200 tread wear endurance.
We're talking about spares.
tires.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yes,
We were talking about
you were
spares.
talking about spares and what spare tires.
Yep.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask people. Like my car weighs X, like with this motor in it. What do you think tires? Because everybody has experimented some. Like I like the RS4s. I like the price of the Falcon Azenas better. The RS4s I found would get a little greasy if you abuse them too much, and but they're still like they're all good tires.
Right. Where the RE71s
Right.
are nice and
Tried them
grippy,
too.
then they wear out
Right.
before, like
Way
notably faster than
fast.
the
Yes,
others. Right.
I did run the RE71s once, and they were like glue, but they did wear out, faster. They were good for our cars, not a real high horsepower car. They worked well. They worked really well in the rain, but I could definitely see the tire wear. Where I could get a race and a half to, out of a set of Azenas. If my RS4s didn't get flat spotted, then I could probably get like maybe 2 full races out of them easily with no issues. Where the RE71s, it was like you're getting the race out of it, maybe
That's it.
practice, that's it.
Chrissy, you had something on this?
Yeah, one quick thought is that if you're so bold, you could, and you're somewhere, you and your teams or your friends' teams have the close to the same bolt pattern and treadwear. You could have the same set of wheels, and then you can share. We've done.
Well, you
Sharing is
need
caring.
to have the same bolt pattern. You can't be close and just
Okay,
Yes.
well, I'm sorry. All right,
Right.
right. So I mean, but if there's something that you could do and you can get a little bit bigger, or you can,
Oh yeah.
because we've had them, and that's kind of saved us a couple times where we've needed a set or one from one of our, our friend
Yeah.
teams, and they've been there for us. So
Well,
just
at
an
this
idea.
point, the Mazda, the Z, and Betty all have the exact same bolt pattern, and the Z and Betty use the exact same size wheels and tires in general. And the Mazda, could fit some of the smaller ones. Just can't. We tried the 17x9 in the Mazda. It looked cool. It stuck out a little too far though. It just wasn't going to work. Not that car could turn a 17x9 either, but oh well.
There's more than one Alzinas, right? It's the
Alzinas, yes.
615 is the one
There's
that we use.
The 615K Plus, I believe, and they have a new one that I believe is more of an autocross tire.
I think that's the 660 is the autocross.
Yes. It is.
660 or 661.
That is not holding up like the 615 did.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we're going to still be with the Hancocks. They're going to last well. The new Continental Extreme Contact Force, I think, is going to last well because it's designed for this stuff. And beyond that, we have to see which ones are more autocross tires than not. Like the A052 Yokohamas, those are autocross tires. Those wipe off immediately, for example.
Which is sad.
We can do a whole show on this.
Need a set of road
on
manglers.
tires. Yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah. We can do a whole show on this. No, I was gonna say, who do we trust? Tire rack testing and grassroots motorsports testing is the place to go when a new tire comes out. They will do an article testing the new ones. They will talk about what an autocross compound is and what a road racing compound is. They know their shit. Please listen to them.
Yeah. Andy Hollis will actually take the cars out and run them for an hour or two and measure tread depth. And it follows what we've been finding. It's good stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. Done tires. We actually a lot of that car stuff is done now, but we've got to keep your driver cool too. We've always thought this is important. Cool suits and coolers really matter.
Mike's Hard Lemonade. No, I'm kidding.
And Mike's Hard Lemonade, not while you're driving, as soon as you're done. Really, this is a safety thing, but it's like even more than a safety thing. Like the car is so much better, and you are so much better when you're not overheating in your bed quilts. When we first started this, we didn't get cool shirts, and we said, this is really hot. We don't have to do this. So the next race, we made our own cool shirts. We took a Hanes t-shirt. We didn't. Chrissy and her mom.
I was going to say, we?
Yeah, it says we.
Who you calling we?
We had 3 sewing machines going. Yep.
Yeah, so we took a Hanes t-shirt and just sewed a piece of square fabric on it, just vertical sewing lines, and then ran vinyl tubing up and down it. And you know what? It worked.
It did.
It worked. But you know what works a lot better?
Buying them.
A good, proper commercial cool shirt.
Buy the shirt, build the pump and cooler, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we've been saying for a very long time.
Yeah. It's so much better. Building a pump and cooler isn't hard. Here's the basics. Cooler and a pump.
Lines. Lines from
what kind of pump do you get?
Yeah. The way we have been doing it is we would buy a bilge pump at Walmart, whatever the cheapest bilge pump I could get was, and silicone and screw it down into the bottom of the cooler, put some kind of grating on it so that the ice wouldn't hit it and knock the pump off. We've had that happen.
Yes.
And then even if then something to make the cooler tight, it really just, we put some foam weather strapping around the edge and a ratchet strap around it to the car. And you know what? It worked fairly well.
I mean, one we've had is we've used it for 10 years now.
And let's be honest, this is, and I am going to let a 3-pedal Mafia secret out here. Live bait well pump controls.
Yeah, from a bass boat.
Because those, seriously, the bilge pump would run so much water that it would melt the ice too fast.
Yep. So the bass pump live well timer.
Yeah.
They're like $30 or $40, and it sets basically it's on for a minute and then off for whatever length of time you choose.
1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on where you have the knob.
Up to like 10 minutes. Yeah.
And now, if your driver turns it all the way onto high, that's their own problem.
It's all your fault.
Their fault. If you're hot at the end of the shift, it's because you were impatient and you cranked that knob the wrong direction.
And sometimes it's nice when it comes on like 4 minutes later, especially when you if you start and it's kind of cool in the morning, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm pretty hot an hour in, and then you turn it on, you're like, oh.
When you are hot, the very first time you ever feel a cool shirt, it's a personal moment, really.
Yes. It feels like somebody pouring cold water down your back.
It's so great. buy the shirts. I think I have a fast brand. I like the way the arms, the tubing goes onto the arms a bit, but the tubing moves a bit. It's kind of pulled a little bit over time. Chrissy's got a cool shirt that's worked well for her.
I have a cool shirt.
I have a
Yeah.
cool shirt as well. Yep.
Yep. So anyway, buy a shirt.
Fast is a little cheaper though, isn't it?
It is a little cheaper, and
Yeah.
their fittings are a little more universal than the cool shirt ones. We've had problems with the cool shirts plugging into some of the other ones and have to have very specific fittings.
Yes, we had the problem with the time you did drive the Cressida and your shirt wouldn't plug into my cool box because
Yep.
I had cool
Do you
shirt
have
fittings.
a fit?
Yeah, the
Yes.
ones we have will work with both. For
Right, so
example.
then I changed over to exactly the
Yeah.
McMaster car.
Yep.
Fittings fit both of them well. I have one tip on the bilge pump that I learned the hard way in the beginning was if you mount it down like it would be in a bilge, you know, in the bottom of a boat, it can get airbound. It's the sloshing around and what have you. If it, for whatever reason, gets air in there, it doesn't necessarily put it, you know, sometimes it'll get airbound, you won't get flow. I found turning it actually the pump sideways, so it's picking up sideways and then discharging the top, that any air that happens to make its way in there, like for example, if you didn't put enough water in it or in my case, you have a leaky box.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And your
leaks
water
out.
level does drop down.
Leaky
If air
box.
should get in there, it will actually push its way up through the tubing and make its way through the system. And then once I did that, I had zero issues. And because
Two
I noticed
things.
that
Two.
in a actual
from
cool
you.
shirt box, I saw it in an actual cool shirt box that they sell for like
Mhm.
a gazillion dollars, that the pump was mounted sideways. And then I just thought about it. And it's like, oh, that's what's happening is I'm getting airbound and it's not pumping
Mhm.
through the shirt.
We definitely had that problem. We usually just unplug the output side of it and let it
Mhm.
squirt first. Once it squirts, so we put it back on. But here's the solution we have that we think is going to solve this problem. Actually, we're pretty confident it's going
Are
to
you
solve this
really going to say this before we've even tested it?
problem. Because I know it's going to work because Hamza's cooler has this too.
Ah, it's already
It
been
works.
tested and proven.
News,
Yeah.
news. Alert, alert, alert. Go on.
Use a positive displacement diaphragm pump, not a
Oh.
bilge pump. So it's the kind of thing like that makes the water pressure work in an RV. But you get the lowest flow and pressure one you can find. They're $20 on Amazon, and they mount with 4 feet to anything you want. They're 3/8 hose in and out. What we've done now on the new cars is we've mounted the pump permanently to the car, and we're just going to swap in and out coolers every driver because we have 3 of the same kind of cooler where they're going to be set up exactly the same. So you put, when instead of having to scoop water out on pit lane and put more ice in and deal with ratchet straps, we've got rubber like Jeep hood closures, so exactly the kind of thing Dave has on his trunk.
Mhm.
Pop those out, undo 2 quick sinks in the side of the cooler, lift the cooler out. You've got your new loaded cooler full of cold ice and water. Put that in, clamp it down, plug 2 hoses in, you're done. It's a lot faster. It's a lot cleaner. I think it'll last longer. And that way, every driver, before they go out for their shift, they're going to make sure their cooler is cold and ready to go. And if it's not, it's their own damn fault, not the, super heated ape that was out there before.
All right, everyone ready for this?
Yeah.
I searched for it. Camp Tech 12-volt DC freshwater pump with 2 hose clamps, 12-volt diaphragm pump, self-priming sprayer pump with pressure switch, 4.3 liter, minimum 1.2 gallons per minute. On your Amazon, $31.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. There's boat ones, RV ones, camp ones, whatever. They're $20 to $30.
Yeah. Camp Temp
That's
was
the way-
was the brand.
Yeah. But just basically the whole point is get a cool shirt, get a cooler, do that. Dave.
I have a question. Chris, are you
Yes.
bringing a spare pump so I don't have to?
No, I did not. I just have one in each car right now.
Oh, shucks. Okay.
Thank
They're
you.
both
Good
brand
idea.
new. So unless somebody
Yeah.
chops it off, then it should be okay.
Well, putting a filter on the inlet side of it, I think will
Yes.
be important to keep that junk out of the pump.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a screen, nothing much. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's it for that. Now, so we talked about keeping the drivers cool. there's more in the car we got to keep cool and keep working well. And Dave, you have a lot of experience with this.
Oh, like as in maybe differentials that
Maybe
need to be
something like
cooling?
that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, depending on your car, in our case, the rear-wheel drive Cressida, the differential is just a small pumpkin. It's not an entire straight axle. It doesn't hold a lot of oil. It's, I think Myers holds like maybe a quart and a half of oil. We've never really had any issues with it in a lot of races, but then it was like all of a sudden between, I think it's a combination of our driving better, cars a little bit more horsepower. We started having issues with it overheating and actually burned up 2 differentials in one race. So
How do you know your differential is overheating?
when so when it's leaking oil, spewing out the vent, smell is absolutely terrible. It's
There is
overheating.
nothing
In our
smellier
case,
than
it kind of
gear
was
oil.
crunchy. Oh, yes. I think at New Hampshire, we cleared the garage. We literally cleared out everybody out of the garage. You couldn't work on it underneath the car. Had to put a fan to get the air moving so you could actually work on it. It smelled so bad. Yeah, and I think the crunchiness of metal parts kind of was a giveaway that the diff had failed. So how we dealt with that? Um, a diff cooler. A Tilton is the company that makes a couple different diff cooler pumps, or I should say oil pumps. They are designed for pumping heavy oil, like as in a transmission or a diff. There's one that's continuous use, which you want to make sure you get, because we are racing for up to as much as 10 hours, or in some cases 24 hours. The their short use is more for like drag racing. You need that pump, you need some oil lines, and you need some kind of a cooler. There's several different kinds. When I was researching what to put in it, a standard oil cooler, like a plate and fin oil cooler, was going to work best for what I thought was going to be needed. There are some coolers that are literally just like an extruded aluminum cooler. I think Momrath has one in their car that is literally just on the bottom underneath of the car, an aluminum extruded cooler. There's no fan. There's just an extra little bit of volume along with that pump.
Well,
I
the
have
airflow, just the car driving is going
Yes,
to blow it around that
exactly.
one.
Yeah.
If you have
Exactly.
space to put it, that's
Right.
not going to be in the way. It's not going to drag on something. It's not going to get taken out if you get a little bump in the rear. Like if your teammate bumps you in the rear, in
on pit
line
road.
waiting to get on track. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Bumps in the rear.
and that kind of cooler, that's what I was afraid of. It's something like, somebody runs over a cone. A cone will do quite a bit of damage underneath a car, that more than you realize. And so I wanted to basically just have the lines run up into the trunk. I have a lot of room in the trunk. I have a metal box that a sheet metal box that I made that I have the cooler mounted in, and I housed the pump and everything in it. So it's also in a safe place because it's all enclosed in a steel box.
That's a lot of junk in your trunk.
I have a lot of junk in my trunk.
He's got a big trunk though. So
I do have a big trunk.
Yeah.
So
Small
the
waist, pretty face, and a big bang.
big trunk. Anyway, so you keep derailing me, Jeff.
he's
So-
taking over mental.
Yes. So we have this box and mounted the cooler in it, and I put a NACA duct in the quarter panel of the car with some 4-inch aluminum from Home Depot dryer vent tubing running into it, and then another one coming out the side and discharging out of the car. For good measure, I put a blower fan in it, a bilge blower fan. Don't need it. We figured out afterwards that it makes the oil actually too cold.
Hmm.
So just for insurance purposes, I put in a diff temperature gauge.
Wow. This is
yes.
we're getting deep now.
Yes. Well, after you burn up 2 diffs, it kind of kills your weekend. You kind of start looking at things and saying, you know what? I'm going to spend a few extra bucks to make sure that our investment for the weekend, for not only myself but everybody that's on, that is racing with us, because everybody's paying money. Everybody's paying a good amount of money to go there and enjoy themselves. So the again with the temperature gauge also showed us that we didn't need the fan. One little tip that I was told by Amanda at Momrath is do not turn on that pump until you've been on track for at least like 15 minutes, because those pumps, they will pump oil. However, when it's cold, especially like say New Hampshire, when it's very cold out, the oil's really thick, she said you will burn up the pump. So once you get the like say 10-15 minutes on track, it will heat up, oil will thin out a little bit, and then you can turn the pump on. And we've seen the temperature difference, especially we just ran at pit. Now, mind you, I had to rebuild a diff. We're running a Torsen diff now, or a True Track, which is a Torsen type diff. They generate a lot of heat. And I saw a huge difference in just turning the pump on. Turning the fan on would drop it even down. Like we were running about 180 with the pump running. Turn the pump off, goes up, creeps up over 200 degrees, gets up 210, turn the pump back on. Turn the fan on, it drops down to like 160, 150 actually, even at times. That's a little, you're starting to get a little too cool. You want to keep it about 180 from my understanding. Again, it's all like cheap insurance. If you've got it set up like we have, a lot of heat is generated in that differential. It's amazing. Also, even before that though, I would change the oil every race in that diff, because there's a lot of heat generated. Always run a good synthetic oil. All things that are just gonna, you don't want to ruin your weekend over a differential. And also, depending on what kind of car you're running, what if you burn up a differential? You need to have a spare, because some cars like an 86 Cressida, you're not going to find in any junkyards hardly anymore. You're not going to get parts for that thing. You're going to be
I've been
scouring.
looking for your generation Cressida or Supra in every junkyard I've been to in the last several years, and I've never seen one.
Yes, I have notifications from one in Maryland, which they got one in a couple weeks ago. I really was like tempted to go down there, and of course, fortunately, like life gets in the way, couldn't do it. But then
You should have called Hamsa. He'd have gone.
I thought about it, but I was like, I was going to just make a day of it and go. But I've been very fortunate with this car to be able to find parts around. There are a lot of places, especially out west, like out in California, where they're parting out cars like no rust. You start running into just shipping costs and stuff. But anyway, I get off topic. With the differentials, try to keep it cool. One of the things, actually, just take a step back, that I did before the cooler was I made an air scoop, just for insurance. Just know, like, we know that the diff's going to get hot. Made a little air scoop underneath the car that would catch the air and kind of direct it up over the differential and keep it cool. And that's at least a good starting point if you don't know what your car is going to do.
Totally.
So
great.
You mentioned good synthetic fluid. This is another place where you're going to have to go to the forums, and you're going to have to ask around what other people are running to find out what is the right fluid for your transmission. Because, what is good fluid according to the factory might not be what is good fluid according to what people who are racing.
Right.
So manual transmission fluid, differential fluid, steering box fluid, all of that, probably there is an upgrade in there somewhere.
Yeah. In general, though, you can't go wrong with Redline or Torco. I've had great luck with both of those, but it really does matter. Because Honda transmissions take what's essentially a 10W30 motor oil. So if you just put gear oil in them, you're going to blow them up.
Right.
Yeah, there was a secret mixture of MT90 and Redline MTL that you used for like the Eagle Talon transmission to make them work.
And when in doubt, call the oil manufacturer. They have tech people. Call Redline, say, this is what I'm doing. What do I need? They'll tell you. It's great. To call Torco. Same thing. They're very nice.
Or if you do have a differential built like I did after burning 2 of them up, I decided to have one of them rebuilt by somebody who's especially this particular guy specializes in Toyota differentials.
$500 my ass. I'm sure that
Yes.
cost you a pretty penny.
I'm not saying anything. Anyway, he recommended Amsoil.
Mhm. A lot of people are running Amsoil.
Yeah,
Yep.
he strongly recommended. He says you can't go wrong like with Redline. He said, but he's like had got a lot of good luck with
Yeah.
Amsoil.
Yeah, Betty is running Amsoil everything these days. Not that we should really, because that car could blow up at any second. But I've heard a lot of people suggesting the Amsoil.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I have in the diff of the Titan, actually, because that was recommended for the Titan.
Mhm.
Excellent.
So,
All right.
and what else we got? Steering
Yeah, we'll do
Steering
this another
boxes.
time. I think we're
Okay.
good with those.
Yeah.
copy.
Jeff, what do you think?
I'm ready to
Radios.
wrap this sucker up. I'm going to talk about radio communications just really quick. You need to communicate with your driver. At the minimum, you want a big whiteboard and some signs and some things.
Those were the days.
Those were the days, weren't they? I loved
They
when
were
we
the
had the
days.
whiteboard. The whiteboard was fun. It gave
Well,
you
because at
something
some
to do.
point you were right next to the track, so you
Yeah.
could read the rude things your teammates would write on the whiteboard for you.
They would change them every time.
Yeah.
Or
what
we'd
are they
say
gonna-
like 10 laps. And then we'd like do a countdown almost.
I remember they're just drawing pictures of boobs for me. Like, I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the minimum. Maximum is radios. And on show 34, when we talked about video, we said, you know what we're gonna do real soon? A show about radios.
Yeah.
We haven't
done
done
that
it
yet.
What did you not do?
We've never done a show about radios. So we're
But we
gonna
can
do
do
a
the
show
very
about radios.
basics, though.
Sure.
Have radios.
Have radios, yeah.
Have not the ones you get at Costco.
GRM
when you go
as
camping. Right?
camping family talk radios. Not
You
gonna
sh-
work.
Someone should have the FCC license.
Sure.
We say that because we have to.
Because we're on a
yeah.
podcast, we're gonna say get your FCC license
Yep.
if you're gonna be broadcasting on those frequencies.
Yep. Good earbuds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Make sure you can talk to people because it's really annoying sometimes when you can't.
Yeah. There are lots and lots of ways to skin this cat. 99% of the people are flaunting FCC rules and running 5-watt small radios on the business bands.
The other things for your pit board, we really should tell everyone every race, even if you have a radio, where you're going to be for your pit board in case the radios don't work.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And we have
And we
not
don't even
done
do
that in a
that.
long time.
No. And if you can have a pit board that has a unique thing about it, like it has a certain color tape around the outside edge, or I've seen people have a very unique flag that they have with their pit board. So, all right, look for that flag, and then we're gonna have the pit board with it, for example. So we should do better at that.
Yeah, I have to say at Pittsburgh, I don't know if I just didn't get my headphones in the jack far enough or not, but I had no communication whatsoever, and I kept driving by, like looking up, like, nope, they're not there. Are they trying to pitboard me? Nope. And I could see people standing on the fence right where our paddock was.
But there were a lot of them. So even if you were looking up, you'd have to find the right person.
I
and
could
then
tell
like-
who was who.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes there was people standing there.
That
And sometimes we did jump up and down.
Yeah.
We did
Oh,
that.
well.
I went at least 6 laps
busy.
going, they're gonna call me any second. Not this one. Maybe they'll call me this one. Nope, still not.
And
there.
right, and that's not even a good place to look. Like there's
No, it's a
people
terrible
going
place
at,
to look. It was
at
like,
high
ooh.
speed. So
Yep.
yes, that's a great suggestion that we should take actually and do it.
We need to do a full show on radios, but I think just like oil, if you ask 100 different people what they're doing for radios, you're gonna get 100 different answers.
Yep.
1,000. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, we've got more of this kind of subject coming up. Like, we've got a radio show. We're going to have a DIY aero show at some
Ooh.
point, right? We've got some things coming up on the similar vein. So stay tuned. So that means that subject's over. What's next?
Anybody have anything else on this topic before we move on?
There's so much more, but we'll save it.
Hella sweet or but terrible time. For those of you who are new to the show, this is where somebody brings up a topic and what they're planning to do, and the rest of the show gets to tell them whether they are an idiot or not.
Okay, I've got one.
All right, I'm ready.
Health Suite but terrible. The general subject is the use of wood in a race car. And I bring this up because I recently had to make cool shirt cooler attachment points for the car because there's no flat place in the back of the car to mount the cooler. And I need a flat, secure location so that when it's hooked into the hooks, it's not going to move anywhere. So I went and looked around my house and I found some 3/8 plywood. I said, this is going to work great. And it seems to work wonderfully. Like I may put angle iron on so that holds the edges of the cooler. It took the bolts with big fender washers for the hooks. I put 2 big bolts through the floor with big fender washers, so it's held in place there. It's lightweight. It's easy to work. It smells nice. I think it's a great idea in the right places. As long as it's not anywhere near the driver because of the whole burning thing, I think it's all right. But thought it was a good topic for discussion.
Who do you want to go first? Because I have an
Anybody.
answer.
Anybody?
I saved the piece of wood that held the Z rear tire on the non-flat surface of the unibody for the exact same thing. Blocks of wood holding on your bumper cover, good idea. Blocks of wood acting as a body mount, bad idea.
Yeah. Blocks of wood holding your seat up,
Bad idea.
Very bad.
But for decorative things on the outside, like your bumper cover, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think as long as it's not something, like you said, that's by the driver, it's fine. Like I think what you're doing in the back of the car would be good. Now, if I put my cool box on the side next to me, on the passenger side of the car, no, I don't think that's such a good
We
idea.
actually wouldn't need it if that's what we did there. That's where our
That's
cool
nice and
boxes
flat,
have always
yeah.
always been. That's the problem of trying to find a flat spot that you can actually drill through the car because there's a nice flat spot on the where the back seat used to be, but that's where the fuel tank is, so you can't go through it. Or where
Same thing with the Z.
rail mounts are. Yeah.
And the
It's not
wood will
easy.
actually give you some insulation value too on the bottom of your cool box.
Wow, it's like you do HVAC or something.
Who knew?
R value.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
It's all
In the
right.
right
I
places.
think wood is
So it-
fine.
A tentative Hella Suite on wood.
Yes. Oh, you know where else you should use wood?
Where's that?
Your dive plate, front of the car,
That's the
Your
splitter.
chin
Yeah.
spoiler. Mhm.
Yep.
High
We
plate.
also like wood for the sticks that hold the windows up when you put those back in the car.
Well, yeah, but they're not in the car when
Yes.
you race.
No. All right, Hella Suite for wood. Everyone's a big fan of wood.
Absolutely.
Next show,
I love wood.
we have no idea. Nope, no clue.
Will Mental be with us next week?
We don't know.
We hope.
We hope so.
We miss Mental.
We do.
Yeah, he misses hair, I'm sure.
Yeah, but not the creepy mustache.
Did he shave the mustache? I
Yes,
thought
he
shaved
did.
the mustache.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. Thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this double entendre filled edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. Hold on a second. I'm going to pause here. Every time we have a guest, we ask them if they want to pimp their social media. We totally skip that with Dave because we know he has no
I'm good.
social media.
I have, but don't really
Do you want
do
to
anything with
at
it.
least tell
No.
everybody? No,
Nah.
none. All right.
Okay.
If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hated us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you're watching on YouTube, right down there in the doodly doo, just go ahead and type it up. If you have any questions or show ideas or comments, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can text us. Mental will pay attention. 484-243-0455. I'll say it again. 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. We're on Spotify. Tell your friends. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels down.